All right. Hello, everybody. What's up? How are y'all doing? Give people a couple minutes to file in here, and then we shall go ahead with things. Oh, what's up, Sarny? I got Joe Rogan on my pod. Yeah. What's up, Philic? What's up, Majawful? Hello. Okay. Salt Top Place, thank you. What's up, everybody? Let's make sure the title and everything is. I'm pretty sure the title should be good to go. Yes, it is. All right. Okay, so we're gonna get this recording going, everybody. And just in a second here, I'm gonna switch scenes, and we're gonna start it. You know. Angry Redditor time. Jesus Christ, he's not angry, guys. He's a reasonable person. All right, we're gonna start this now. Okay, so welcome, Nick, to the second episode of the Battlefield podcast. You want to give people an introduction as to who you are and what we're going to be. Well, I'll tell them what we're talking about, but if you want to give yourself a background, that would be great.
Sure. There's two of you on screen, though.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yep, you got to disable that. All right, now we're good.
So my name's Nick. I hate the term Battlefield veteran, but I've been playing since BF2, so I suppose it qualifies. BF2 a little bit towards the end of its lifespan. BC2, BF3, BF4. 1, not quite as much. 5, 2042. I skipped Hardline. I played the beta for it or the demo for it, but didn't get a whole lot of time in on it. And I'm probably what you would call a mediocre player. I'm not out here with a 4, 5, 6 KD. I'm probably averaging 1.5 on a bad day, 2 on a good day, maybe 3 on a really good game.
So we actually play the game as opposed to the Owen 15ers.
No, I generally play relatively aggressive on points and stuff, so you can only last so long when you're pushing something. But a bit more context, my favorite Battlefield is probably Bad Company 2, followed by BF3. I really enjoy the Rush game mode. I think it's a bit more focused than Conquest. And so that's where I come from. I wouldn't say that I appreciate BC2's movement, though. In preparation for coming on, I went back and I played just about every Battlefield I had access to, which is everything except BF3 right now, because Venice Unleashed is dead. And
RIP Venice Unleashed.
Yep, but Project Rome is actually kind of alive for BC2. So I went back and played all of them. Some of them have held up better than others.
Yep, definitely. All right, well, today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to discuss unintended mechanics. Now, some of you will know what we're talking about in terms of Battlefield unintended mechanics. The most famous one, undoubtedly, is obviously the Battlefield 4 Zuzu jump, followed by the other stupid things you can do in that game, such as Vuzu, Muzu, and the fairly newly discovered Ruzu, and God forbid there might actually be one more that I'm forgetting. There's also more unintended quote-unquote mechanics that we'll get into, such as the ADS stabilization jump, which was first seen in Battlefield 3, carried all the way through up until Battlefield 5, and then when the game's engine changed in 2042, that was no longer carried over as a legacy sort of engine thing. And there's more stuff where that comes from. So what do you want to dive into first? I think we should talk about sort of unintended mechanics, whether or not they add anything, and what constitutes an unintended mechanic that's too much, or is there such thing as an unintended mechanic that is actually a good thing for the game, or that adds something?
So, I mean, to immediately answer that question, I think that the best example of something that is too much is reload canceling from Bad Company 2, and I think it was in BF3 as well, where you could cycle a shotgun or a sniper much faster than intended by switching to your secondary, and then switch back, and you would have or even cut down even further how much time between shots. And in Bad Company 2 especially, where the slugs were effective at any range, as a one-shot chest kill or headshot, and you would see people fire off effectively bursts of 4 or 5 slugs by reload canceling, and that just ruins the TTK. And so something that's directly impacting your time to kill or bullets to kill, I think, is probably the most egregious of these, and is something that should be patched out. The movement stuff, like you see in BF2 with the dolphin diving bunny hopping thing, which was patched out in 1.5, or the ADS stabilization jumps, or the 2042 momentum carrying with slides and stuff like that. I think that is more of a gray area, but I still have issues with unintended mechanics being allowed to persist past a given game in general.
Okay. So I agree with the reload cycling thing. Like, it's just cheap. I totally get that. Like, you're cycling through and it does affect game TTK. Like, we can get rid of that. That's fine. I guess we'll go into the ADS stabilization jump here. So I mentioned my first recollection of it is Battlefield 3, and then it was carried over up until BF5.
I don't think it was in 1.
It was in 1, actually. Yep.
You just
can't. Okay. You just never jump peek in 1 because you can't really. So, but yes, it is in the game. I really actually enjoy that sort of thing because it is sort of I suppose, an unintended feature. And what it does, for people that don't know what the ADS stabilization jump is, you can basically jump peek a corner with your secondary out, switch weapons in midair, and then the way I do it is I sort of double tap my crouch key, and you'll land without the visual animation of the landing animation. And obviously this makes it super powerful for jump peeking, specifically people on difficult to pre-aim angles. It does increase the actions per minute while you're playing. It's not something that you can do. You can do it easily, but it isn't so easy that everyone is going to be able to do it. But the question is whether or not, the developers actually knew it was a thing in the game that you could do. And whether or not it's okay for it to be in the game. In my playtime experience, I'm not sure if you have much playtime experience with this, but after I say my piece, I'll let you build off of it. In my experience, I do enjoy the ADS stabilization jump because, to me, it's an unintended mechanic that I feel adds something more to the gameplay. I feel as though the gameplay would actually feel kind of worse without using it now that I know how to use it a lot. And the reasons for that are obvious. I mean, obviously dealing with any sort of visual bobbling while you land after a jump peak, any sort of visual animation that disrupts your aim is going to feel worse than not having it. But there is sort of a lesser known penalty to using the ADS stabilization jump, especially in Battlefield 4, and also Battlefield 5. In third person, your character kind of goes stiff. So it's kind of weird looking, but your character does go stiff. It can arguably make you a little easier to hit if you are using it. The players that play Battlefield 4 that use this and have played against people using it will know that. But I do like the ability to have an option where if there's someone in an incredibly difficult to pre-aim position that I have to jump peek, let's say I'm in a bad position or whatever, a bad situation rather, and my only play is, okay, basically brute force this fight. Guy's on a head glitch, I have to kill him. And I jump out and I actually hit that pre-aim and then I hit the shot. I think that's largely fine, and you can do it without it. But in my opinion, using that sort of mechanic, number one, it does take more APM, so you could argue it's a higher skill gap, and then, you know, you hit the shot anyway. So you can take it away from there with that particular mechanic.
So my main complaint with it is that it's not intended game design, because if you conventionally jump peek, you do have that awful weapon sway.
Mm-hmm.
So we know it's unintended game design. And then if we look at Battlefield 1, we're given a mechanic at launch, at least, to do what this is supposed to do. The slide in its original form was a relatively useful offensive movement mechanic. And it was nerfed because of the hit reg issues, but in its original intent, it did serve that purpose. I'm in favor of building a mechanic into the game so that it is part of the game design instead of relying on an exploit. And I think this is a good example. I think that the original slide in BF1 and the slide in BF5 take the place of that jump peak and do a better job of it. It's a little more accessible a mechanic. I am not a huge fan of the higher APM necessary for the jump peak. This is probably my mediocre player status showing. I'll try it, and it just ends up poorly. I get the weapon sway, and it just falls apart. But ultimately, I think the issue is by including these legacy bugs, we're changing how the game plays. Because as they stick around longer in the franchise, people are used to it and they begin to use it more, and it becomes more common. Especially something, I mean, BFT is probably the best example of this, where you couldn't join a server without half of it dolphin diving across it before the 1.5 patch, even after that, really. And I think when designing a new title for the franchise like BF6, you have to take into account that people came to the franchise for a reason. And if they join a server and it's full of people using exploits, that's not really what they joined the franchise for. So we need to build the purpose of those exploits, an offensive movement to peek a corner, into the game in such a way that it's something understood by the players when they join the franchise.
Yeah. So I will agree with you in the sense that if we're talking about exploits, the BF4 stuff, which is infamous, the Zuzu jump and Vuzu, all this stuff. I mean, you vault over a med pack and you teleport. You switch weapons while vaulting and you teleport. The Zuzu jump, I believe you have to jump behind a wall where a player isn't looking at you, and then you have to land within their visibility, and your player sort of squishes down and comes back up. That sort of exploit, that is stupid. Which is why, even in Battlefield 4, like competitive, which is still somehow going on within tiny communities, they GA that, right? So they ban that. If they take it seriously too. Like they get really annoyed. Oh my god, you Zuzu'd the corner. they don't like that. And hold that thought for 1 second, because I have an unexpected problem here. Okay, I apologize for that. We're at BF4, right?
Yeah.
So the BF4 exploits like that, where it really is an exploit and you can see it's an exploit, I'm fine with that if they get rid of it. That sort of stuff is definitely not acceptable in gameplay. People use it because they can use it, and it does offer them an advantage.
Game.
Yeah.
Yeah, a competitive player is going to use everything they can.
Of course. Things like but I do think you can't equate something like the stabilization jump to like a Zuzu or to a Vuzu jump, because in my mind, it's just simply not as egregious or as effective.
No, it's not as egregious. It's still an exploit.
No, it is. And this begs the question, and I've kind of I'm trying to debate whether or not I should even. So I have reason to believe they knew about the ADS stabilization jump, which is why it was kept throughout 4 separate Battlefield games. And they kept it. I'm not sure why they kept it.
I'm not convinced that they. Well, I'm sure they knew about it. I'm not convinced they kept it because it was intended game design. I believe they kept it because DICE is terrible at squashing bugs.
That's well, yeah, you're right about that. They are really bad at squashing bugs. But
how long has the stretchy neck glitch been in Battlefield?
Oh, I don't even know. That BF3 was the one game that made that famous. So
I saw it in BF5 this morning.
Yeah. Yep. So I guess the question is, does something being unintended inherently make it bad to have in gameplay? Because of the most famous example in all of gaming probably is Counter-Strike with bunny hopping.
Yes.
So the developers sort of embrace that. My understanding, maybe that someone in chat or in the comment section can further elaborate. But my understanding on that is bunny hopping was definitely not intended in Counter-Strike, but the developers saw a reason, I guess, to keep it in the game. They saw it as something that added maybe a skill gap or something interesting to the gameplay that not everyone can do, and it was quite difficult to execute, especially in succession. So they decided, we're not going to patch this, and we're going to make it like part of the game's, I don't want to say identity, but it is kind of part of Counter-Strike's identity at this point.
It is.
I wouldn't say it's the same thing with Battlefield's stabilization jump, though. I wouldn't say Battlefield's identity and movement, I wouldn't say the stabilization jump or anything like that is part of Battlefield's identity per se. It's more of like an extremely niche thing that only less than 1% of the player base even knows exists.
Yeah, I think that there are circumstances where an exploit turned into a identifying feature for a game. CS, bunny hopping. I'm pretty sure tribes was initially something else before they had the sliding.
Mm-hmm.
But I think part of the problem with that is in a scenario like BF6 where the entire promise is going back to its roots and what people expect those roots to be, not really what the game was. People want BF4, but they talk about that with rose-tinted glasses, and they forget that the classes were actually fairly open in BF4, and they forget that exploits like this existed, or they didn't see them very often.
Oh, I've witnessed firsthand they don't know BF4 classes were that open. Oh, oh man.
But what they want, they have an idea of what they want, and they're calling it BF4, but if BF6 is to be successful, they do need to cater to what the people think they want, not necessarily what they're saying. And so if people are saying we want locked classes a la BF4, okay, well, maybe they don't actually want BF4. Maybe they want BC2 or BF1 locked classes. They want BF4 movement. Okay, well, maybe they don't want BF4 movement with the exploits. They want what they experienced, be that on console with an FOV of 60 and weighty movement with a joystick, or be that on PC where they didn't know about these exploits. And so I think that there's BF6 from a game design perspective can't include these things because the entire point is going back to its roots. Changing the identity of the game is going to be a flop just like 2042 was.
Yeah, for sure. You're definitely incorrect in saying that a lot of people have a different idea of what Battlefield roots actually are, and they probably don't know what they want. The unintended stuff doesn't necessarily have to be there. Like you said, they should build it into the game design itself. They're going to do this.
BF5 movement. They should remove the exploits and give us BF5 movement. I'd be fine with that.
No, and I think
this morning and it worked just fine.
I think a lot of people would be totally fine with that. But at a certain point, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the BF6 leaks. There's something with BF6 leaks right now where I've seen a couple Reddit posts on this where you jump peak and there's some sort of crazy jump peak penalty where actually your aim is off center, not by a little, but like by probably 2 player model widths. And it like, is that going to be their way to quote unquote balance jump peaking, which is a mechanic that's been a core part of Battlefield gameplay for over a decade at this point, and is actually, regardless of what people want to say, it is seriously essential to having any sort of depth or any sort of skill gap in Battlefield. Like, if there's nothing unintended in the game, that's fine, but I don't want them to go back to their roots so much, quote unquote, that they listen to people that don't realize what Battlefield really always has been for such a long time, just because I suppose maybe some people don't use these mechanics at all. Even the intended mechanics they don't use.
Yeah. I mean, BF5, I don't slide around all that much. I don't use it. I recognize it's in the game. I think a lot of this knee-jerk reaction is in response to 2042 in specific.
Yes.
I don't think a ton of people had a huge issue with BF5 in this aspect. If they did, it was not as bad. 2042 really, with its jumping, sliding, momentum carrying mechanics, I think evoked a lot of that CS bunny hopping sort of stuff, and people are really hesitant to let that stay in the franchise.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on this as well. So do you, in your opinion, do you think the momentum thing, do you consider that to be an exploit, or do you consider it to be intended game design?
That's a great question. I'm not sure. I think it's wrong. I don't think it belongs in the game. I don't know if it's either. I couldn't tell you. Because it's not like quite on the edge. We don't have quite as clear a message. Like in BF3, BF4, you have that punishment for jump peaking where your aim sways if you don't do the ADS stabilization jump.
And you're also, you can't ADS and shoot at the same time in BF3 and 4 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have this indication of what game design was supposed to be, and we found an exploit to get around that. I think that in 2042, it's not quite as clear that this wasn't intended. I mean, it works really well with the McKay grapple. So you could argue that it's intended. I don't think it belongs in the game, but which it is doesn't really matter.
I think it's a different thing. I do understand what you mean, though. Definitely. The momentum carrying over is definitely intended. I think 100% they would have gutted that early on if it was something that they did not intend to have in the game. Whether or not Battlefield players want it in the game as something that they can use is a different sort of thing. People have complained about it all the time. And I mean, I'm sure, chat, you guys know, I don't even know, unfortunately, probably like 2,000 hours on McKay. And the reason why I use McKay so much is because of what you said. Is he's extremely good with the grapple hook and basically being able to clear great distances very quickly, which is definitely broken in terms of what Battlefield has always been. Like, if you look at any Battlefield ever made, you can't do the things you can do with McKay. And that throws off any sort of like positional timing, your expectations. You know, in BF5, if I wanted to reposition, I have videos on this on my YouTube. I have to go through some whole convoluted thing where I have to be aware of 97 angles and, okay, I have to go here based on this timing. Whereas McKay, and some Battlefield players would actually call this an exploit, even though it's sort of intended game design. With McKay, I can throw 2 smoke grenades, grapple 20 meters, send myself flying, and then jump for another 30 to 40 meters. And that only takes about, I don't even know, 3 to 4 seconds. So that throws off all the enemy's timing completely. And they're like, how did this guy even get here? And that's why McKay is so good. And that's why he's top tier. And some people might consider that to actually be an exploit of the game design of 2042.
I'll say this. Even if it's intended game design, it's bad game design.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Especially given my experience with previous Battlefield games, like the instant repositioning on top of being able to access that much height, verticality, is just crazy. It's so hard to keep track of, even for the best players in the game. It makes it super difficult to keep track of people. But back to some more unintended mechanics. There was we can touch on some funny BF5 stuff. Did you know in BF5 there's a exploit that allows you to full auto bolt actions?
I've seen it done. I've never done it myself.
Thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I think that's just an extreme example of the reload canceling I already said was broken.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not okay. There's no way around that. That just, I mean, that goes back to breaking TTK. I mean, movement exploits be damned. That's one thing. Changing TTK fucks balance in an entirely new direction.
Yeah. Famously, it could be done with the boys, the anti-tank rifles. So that was not good in that game. There is also more to talk about with the Battlefield 4 stuff. So in BF4, we already briefly mentioned the Zuzu, Vuzu, Muzu. I want to get your experience if you've played against that sort of thing, or if you've seen it. I kind of want to hear your perspective of what it's like to sort of play against that.
I've seen it done. I've probably been killed by it a couple times. It's not common in public lobbies, thankfully, but it is frustrating for sure. I generally, I mean, BF4 didn't really have a matchmaking system. I don't know. It's not quite as obvious as people think. It's more obvious when you're watching someone else's POV. So when you're watching a streamer and you're seeing them do it, or something along those lines. In game, it's not quite as obvious, except you feel a little frustrated at how you died.
Yeah, especially when the third-person POV is basically he threw a med kit and now he's 6 feet behind you.
Yes.
And because he vaulted over that med kit.
Yeah, so as someone who doesn't really know how these things work, that doesn't... It feels like hacking is what it feels like.
Yes.
I'm sure that people who do it get accusations all the time. And it's not, although on some level it's as bad. Teleporting is probably breaking intended game design just as badly as changing TTK.
Yeah. And there are a couple of my friends are masters at utilizing all of these unintended things in Battlefield 4's gameplay. And if you watch their POV, it is so far from normal BF4 gameplay. It's really funny to watch because in certain situations, players would have to, take the situation way slower or reposition entirely. But you watch someone like Focus or like Careless or some of these other players that play Battlefield 4, and in certain situations, they're like, I'm just going to brute force this. And you see them throw a med kit under them, and then suddenly they teleport 6 feet behind them. And then they're air strafing everywhere, which is, of course, intended. But then then the new thing that's in BF4 is apparently they figured out a way to teleport or like slide around the ground. They found a new movement exploit, and they named it the Ruzu. So now you don't have to have a railing to vault off of. You don't have to have a med kit to vault off of. You can do it off of any surface. So they do all these other things, and then now they found another one that breaks the game further. And obviously, it's just sort of it's not a serious play style. People do it and to try to get clips, and in their mind, it's cool to them. And I don't think anyone that uses it necessarily really thinks that it's fair. But
I mean, at this point, it's a speedrun strat in a multiplayer game.
Pretty much. It is. They're trying to utilize all mechanics, intended or unintended, in their gameplay as much as possible and as efficiently as possible. And because they want to be really good at the game, they are going to use that. And I understand that. Like, I would totally... I used ADS stabilization jump for 5,000 hours. Like, if it's there, I'm going to use it. But the BF4 stuff in particular is a very interesting case study because there's so many things in that game that are just broken.
Yep. I think that some of these are actually more forgivable than others. Sure, they are broken to hell and back, and I want them patched out in a future title. That doesn't change. But I think that it's not that big a deal because you don't see them used generally online. My concern is something more like McKay from 2042 or BF2 style bunny hopping or reload cycling from BC2 and BF3, because those were prevalent enough. You saw them generally in public lobbies. You would get killed by them, you would get them used against you, and it felt cheap. This really high level stuff, yeah, sure, it should be banned in competitive play like it is, but it's also so rare. It's not something that I would place a priority on removing. I mean, I would want it removed in the next game, but if it's not patched out, yeah, okay, I see it once every 100 games.
So we'll segue into this now. I want to give me the rundown on what you want to see. Big picture, BF6.
Okay. I'm gonna start with BF5 movement, considering we just came from movement as a topic.
Would you keep the slide turn cap on your mouse or controller?
I don't particularly like the ability to change direction while crouching, while sliding. I mean, I think that I would want it capped, maybe even a bit more seriously. You can use it as an offensive measure to get around a corner. to come out at a different height than people might be expecting if they're holding that line. And it does work. It's not going to fuck you over like the BF1 after the nerf, but being able to slide backwards feels weird. I don't really particularly like that.
A BF1 famously, you could slide backwards, I believe, up staircases.
Yeah. No, I don't like that. I don't like that.
I fucking like that. Yeah.
If we're gonna keep jump peeking, I don't want it to be something where you have to switch weapons mid-air in order to make it work.
You just want a good jump peek that makes sense.
I'm not against there being an okay jump peek that works. I do think that there should be some small penalty to accuracy, but not as egregious as it is. I don't really want us to have to switch weapons in order to make it work. That starts to feel unintended. And otherwise, from what I'm seeing from players that have, actually touched their settings panel and changed their FOV and are on mouse and keyboard, it looks fine. Where BF6 movement is right now feels fine. I'm not complaining about it. I didn't go in and try and break it, though. So I played it like I would play any other Battlefield. I was not supposed to say that. Oh, well. Here's hoping EA is not watching.
It's Jover. It's fucking over.
Well. Oh, well. I don't think the name I'm using here is tied to my account anyway. But, yeah, so I think the BF6 movement looks like it's in a good place. Again, I didn't try and break it. I think that there are... I really don't appreciate the direction they're going with gunplay, though.
Okay.
I would want to go back to a BF4 style gunplay. I really do think that we need spread. I think we need that in order to manage engagement distances. Yeah. If we don't have spread, you can shoot people at 100 meters with an assault rifle, and then you have to watch every single direction at all times. And you just get shot in the side from someone you didn't realize was there. And I really appreciate how when I go back and play BF4, I see people 100 meters away, and I don't engage them because I know I can't kill them. I don't want that heat from them.
Exactly.
And that, I think the problem with 2042 had two problems. The main problems in this aspect. 128 players is just fucking chaos. That was a mistake from the start.
This guy's based, chat.
And then the ability to beam people from 100 meters, coupled with 128 players, meant that there was no sense of positioning. You were just hiding behind a wall at all times, trying not to get shot.
I couldn't even have said it any better. It's just...
The map designs helped because they gave you a few more walls to hide behind, but it didn't solve the core problem of being able to laser beam someone from 190 meters, 100 meters or so. BF6 has the same problem. You can absolutely build those weapons to be a beam.
Oh boy.
Yeah, no, you absolutely can. You can take the highest damage per bullet rifles, like Scar H equivalent or something, and make them just as laser accurate as the rest of them. Couple that with the headshot multiplier attachments, and you're going to have a fun time dealing with that. You're going to get some really, really nasty, seemingly insta-kills as a result.
Well, that doesn't sound too good. I totally agree with you on the gunplay, and I've been, oh my god, I've gotten so much shit for this. I don't even know if you pay attention to my YouTube channel or anything that I do ever, but I have made probably, what do you think, chat? 10, maybe 15 videos during 2042's lifespan explaining exactly the thing that you just said, which is why spread is so important, what spread actually does, why it's in the game, the intended use case for spread, reduces engagement distances, all that sort of thing. I made 15 videos on that subject, and I've just gotten support, but also just massively shit on I feel like from people that genuinely just don't understand what I'm talking about. And it doesn't matter how well I explain it. Some people genuinely just don't.
Spread got a bad rap because of suppression.
Oh my god, this guy's fucking so on point. Yes, it did. Suppression. Oh my god. Don't even get me started on this. Suppression, especially in BF3 and BF1. Oh, I think BF1 was the #1 culprit over BF3, given BF1's weapon design. People got suppressed, and because BF1's weapons were... You couldn't really burst fire, you know what I mean? They didn't have the same mechanics as BF4. They got suppressed in BF1, their bullets went around people, and they said, spread bad. No.
Answer is suppression bad.
The suppression bad. That. Suppression bad and stupid.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, suppression is what's giving them a bad rap. And I think the push for spreadless weapons in BF5, where you had a recoil pattern instead, was because people were still coming off of BF3 and BF4's and BF1's suppression interfering with how they could aim. And they were targeting the wrong problem. I mean, they did remove suppression eventually, besides being visual. So they got that part, at least. But they took out core mechanic that helped control engagement distances at the same time.
Yeah. It makes such a massive difference. In 2042, I mean, I remember the release of the game. Take the LCMG out, 120 meters, even 150 meters sometimes, no problem. Full auto standing, might take 40 shots. I'm killing that guy though. It doesn't matter.
Like Warzone.
Yeah,
it feels like Warzone.
It's probably worse than Warzone in that regard, actually.
Warzone at least higher BTK, so
yeah, Warzone higher BTK and definitely harder to hit like a good player in Warzone when they're spazzing around with all the stuff they're doing in that game.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot more common ground than you might think with a lot of people here, chat. That's what you need to understand. So when we're arguing with, well, okay, maybe not with some Redditors on some of these threads, like we spoke about before we went on online. But as you can see, you know, if there's reasonable people, that you can find some points of agreements.
I think a lot of people online don't know what they're asking for, and yeah. I think that I think there's 3 kinds of complaints about movement. I think there's people who are a console player or they're a PC player and they've never touched the settings panel and they are not used to a high FOV and they're seeing all these leaks and these clips and they're like, hold on, why is this mouse flicking around all over? Why are they moving so quickly? Well, it's the FOV, it's a high sensitivity. So you have that kind of complaint and that's just kind of invalid. They don't know what they're looking at. Every game before has been like this. And then you have someone who wants a BC2 or a BF1 style movement where it is really slow and methodical and there's not a whole lot of movement mechanic outside of that. And if that's actually what you want, okay. Sure, you have your opinion and that's fine. I don't agree with you, but it's fine. You actually know what you're asking for. You're not misconstruing what you're looking at. And then there's someone who wants to cut out all exploits, like the movement carrying, bunny hopping, the ADS stabilization, the Ruzu, Muzu, Fuzu bullshit. And that's where I stand. I don't like the exploits, which, or really, I don't really like slide strafing either, but that's kind of my extent of complaining about an intended movement mechanic.
Do you want to dive deeper into the slide strafing sort of thing?
I mean,
just from your perspective.
Seeing someone slide backwards really throws you for a loop. I don't know. If it was a dolphin dive to throw you back behind cover as a defensive move, I would complain a whole lot less. But someone in BF5 sliding backwards, landing on their back, and BF5 has enough problems with visibility as it is that someone going prone and stuff just... Okay, this is where I get weird and where you're going to call me out for having a weird ass take.
Okay.
I think prone should be removed from the game.
Okay, so based, but also they can't do it because of map design.
I mean, we're making a new game. We can change the map design.
But we can't trust them to make maps. No, we really can't. We can't trust them to make maps where there's enough cover to where we can't use prone. And I've said this for years. I have an anti-prone emote on my fucking Twitch channel. I get it.
Not been here enough then.
Remove prone, but you can't because I use it so much to stay alive in these situations that it unfortunately it's an essential mechanic you actually have to have in the game.
My take is that prone encourages camping. And I mean, sure, BC2 had its fair share of campers sitting in a bush as the ghillie suit Wookiee, but still, I'm with you on map design though. I think BC2 and BF3 had the best map design, and it's gone downhill since.
Yeah, BF3 then BF4 kind of went, and then BF1.
That's coming from a Rush player. Keep that in mind.
Okay,
I really like Rush maps.
Yeah.
So, Conquest always feels like a group of Zerglings running around in circles compared to what Rush does.
And I think you enjoy BF3 Rush so much because, and we can segue into this a little bit for, I suppose, one of the last segments. Rush in Battlefield 3 was good because
when it wasn't 64 players.
When it wasn't or was?
When it wasn't.
Okay.
It was a hot mess when it was 64 players. 48 was fine.
Very good. But also BF3 map design, a lot of the maps were made with Rush in mind, were they not?
Yes. Dam of Van Peak, Metro, yes. And people love those maps. Let's make more Rush maps.
And that's the big thing they need to focus on in the next game. Rush has been bad ever since BF4. So like BF4 onwards, in my opinion, Rush has been a mess.
Oh my god.
Because
trying to play Rush in BF1, it was a hot mess.
So fucking stupid sometimes. But they need to actually design these maps with a certain game mode in mind again. Because it's just been so obvious. You play, like you mentioned, BF1 Rush in certain maps. The most egregious ones by far are BF5 and 2042 Rush. Absolute brain rot, some of these maps. I mean, you can just tell they gave some guy the job and said, we need a Rush layout. We need it by tomorrow. And they said, oh, put an MCOM here, put it there, and blah, blah, blah. We won't even consider the amount of tickets. That's fine, whatever. We'll just throw this here. We won't consider the out-of-bounds lines either. Yeah, like this piece of cover that's probably essential for Defender gameplay, yeah, that's out of bounds. You can just tell there's no thought put into this stuff. Nowhere near the amount that there should be. And we need to have a return to maps such as Grand Bazaar, which is your background. And I would have no problem if they had a small amount of maps in the next game where they straight up one-to-one copy legacy beloved maps from the franchise. Sort of like Call of Duty does, but less annoying with Nuketown 87 times. Like, if they want to put Grand Bazaar in the game, if they want to put Sane Crossing in the game, I'm fine with that.
I'll be honest. The only reason why I bought 2042 was for Portal on the expectation that they might add more. They might add more maps, and it was like, okay, well, they brought back Arica Harbor and Valparaiso from BC2, and I was like, okay, we got Rush maps. We're gonna play this. And I was like, oh, they're gonna add more. Wouldn't it be cool if they kept adding back legacy maps? Yeah.
As someone in my chat just said right now, Portal was their greatest lie. Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
He thought. You fucking thought, okay?
It seemed so sensible. People love the old maps. Why not just keep making them? Bring them back. No, if someone, I mean, I've been saying for a while I want a BC2 remake. I don't think I'm going to get it, but if they just, brought back a handful of maps from BF3, BC2, you could probably get away with bringing back some of the better maps from BF4. And you got legacy stuff from BF2 that still plays really well in BF4. You could bring that too. I don't know where map design went, but it feels like it's been shit since 2015. BF1 has great
BF1 had
ambiance.
some.
I don't love the maps.
Really, I liked some of BF1's maps. I did. I thought Priest was good. I thought Nivelle Knights was good. Achibaba. There was that one conquest map.
Actually, play Nivelle Knights is a nightmare, though.
Well, I'm sorry, what?
Getting people to actually play Nivelle Knights is a nightmare, though. You get to the map vote screen, and everybody says, "No, we're gonna do something else. No, we're gonna go back to that one Sniper Hell sand map that I forget the name of."
Sinai Desert, yeah.
Yes. BF1 had a couple good maps, but I don't think I would say any of them were great. And I think if you go back to BF3 and BC2, you have like 6 great maps, another 6 good maps, and then the rest are mediocre, and maybe a handful of bad ones between the 2 games. And you can't say that about everything since. BF1 nailed atmosphere, and it did that great. And I think they were limited in the map design by the atmosphere, because you're going back to World War I inspired maps, which means you're in fields and trenches, so you're extreme CQB or extreme long range. That's often not fun, especially when you have to switch between the two as a role only suited for one of them.
It's actually interesting. So you think BF1's map design was limited via atmosphere?
Yeah, because I mean,
which is interesting because the atmosphere in the whenever people talk about BF1, the atmosphere, the immersion. Yeah. It's one of the main things people talk about.
If they
I've never heard the opinion,
shooter, it would work quite well.
I don't know if I've ever heard the opinion that the atmosphere limited the map design. That's actually pretty interesting.
I mean, the ultimate problem is they had to model maps off of World War I. The best maps they had were those that included buildings, that included a shit ton of rubble for you to hide in. If you go look at some of the Russian expansion ones, where you've got just trenches in a field,
Galicia.
You're either assault with an SMG in the trench, or you're a sniper hiding behind a rock shooting people that get out of the trench. And if either of those leave those roles, it's a fucking shit show. And if you're a medic, you can kind of make it work in either scenario, but the ranges are still a little too long for you to really use that self-stutter.
I can definitely see your point. Whether or not the atmosphere was a driving factor as to why they chose to design maps like Galicia the way they did, I'm not so sure. Because in my opinion, they could have easily went about designing Galicia or maps like that in a different way just to make them more playable. But maybe the atmosphere did influence them that much. And I want to ask you this. So, BF1's atmosphere is great.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think... God, how do I even say this? It's like... people focus on the wrong things all the time when it comes to Battlefield, especially with Battlefield 1.
Yes.
And I think BF1 brought in a ton of players that weren't necessarily trying to play an FPS game. They were trying to play like a World War I history simulator thing.
I mean, I think that there's a lot of fun to be had when you go play hardcore with no HUD, and it's definitely a vibe. It's not... I mean, it's not a competitive shooter at that point, though. I think that Battlefield 1 would have been a much better single-player story if they had really fleshed that out.
Yeah.
And made it a campaign. And that would have been awesome. The multiplayer is fun, and there's elements that work. I don't think it was the best Battlefield like some people claim it is.
You mentioned hardcore. Do you play hardcore?
I have 8,000 hours in Bad Company 2 with slugs. I love hardcore.
All right, now we're gonna get into this. All right, now we're gonna get into this. So
it's not the only thing I play. I definitely enjoy the conventional game, and I think the conventional game is balanced better, because hardcore is a shit show where everyone either has a bolt action or a shotgun with slugs.
Okay, so you're not okay.
I'm not insane. I recognize that the balance is awful.
Yes,
but it can be a hell of a lot of fun.
So I made a couple of videos on this. I really truly believe they shouldn't even allow people to create hardcore servers. Because I think I'm tired of Battlefield not taking a hardline approach as to what the game actually is. There's too much confusion. People say, I love playing hardcore, and I love playing this, and I love playing that. And Battlefield goes, woo, for everybody, woo, yeah. And then there's so much debate. There's so much division. It's just, I view hardcore as just quite literally useless. Like, I could play hardcore, fine, whatever. The only time I'm going to die is if I'm getting shot by a bolt action. Other than that, I'm going 80-1, right? Like 50-1. I can just camp, you know, like you mentioned. You just use one-shot weapons and all that. I really don't think hardcore, I don't like it. I think DICE should take a hardline stance and be like, this is what we're making our game. There it is. Like, I'm tired of seeing it.
I can understand that. I wouldn't cry if hardcore was removed. I do mostly play conventional. And I do want to say specifically to Sarny, I don't go one-shotting everyone in hardcore. I go one-shotting everyone in the normal ass mode. In normal rush. You bring back 3D spotting and I will shoot you from across the map with a slug. It'll be fine.
Dude, you mentioned slugs a lot. I bet you were on BF3 No Shark Canals TDM with the 870 MCS slug a lot.
No, that was the AEK.
Okay, yeah, okay.
What else would you use? No, slugs are fun. The thing with BC2 is that they were an exploit, really. And I was using the exploit.
Well, they didn't have drop, did they?
They didn't have drop, any reload cycle, and they one-shot, headshot across the map. They were broken, and so I used them. Like, you could shoot helicopter pilots out of the helicopter with them. It was a lot of fun. It was a little broken, and I'll admit that. And, you know, you can take it out. And I won't cry. I'll go use the assault rifles. It'll be fine.
So, I want to pick your brain about the hardcore mark. So, okay, why do you play hardcore?
I play hardcore because sometimes it's the server I click on. Sometimes it's the one that's populated on the map I want to play. And I will enjoy the different experience.
You're not picky.
No. What I said was a little earlier was tongue in cheek. I can enjoy the experience, but I'm not a hardcore main.
Okay.
I don't think that removing it would be a great loss. I also don't think that leaving it in is a cardinal sin. I can respect that some people want to play hardcore, and I don't see anything wrong with leaving it in there for them. Now, I think that when those people go to ask for certain things in the next Battlefield, they need to preface it by saying, we want a hardcore mode with these features. They can't say, we want Battlefield 6 to have this, because, and then list off a series of hardcore features. And I do think there is some merit to saying, just go play squad.
I really think there is some. Well, here's why. I'm gonna explain why a lot of hardcore players don't go play milsims, even though they're readily available. You could play.
It's too slow. Hardcore is a beautiful mix of fast and it's a fast TTK and a fast movement.
The reason why a lot of Battlefield players that play hardcore don't play milsims is because the milsims are actually too mechanically difficult for them to play.
Sure. I think that's certainly true with some of them.
So they want to make Battlefield, which is a game that is very accessible,
arcade shooter,
all that sort of stuff. They want to take
shooter. We can call it that.
Yeah, exactly. They want to take the Battlefield DNA, which is accessible to them, and they want to change it to essentially what they want. And they don't want to go and play Squad or these other milsim games because they actually can't, because it's too difficult.
I think there is a wide gap between Battlefield and the milsim games that leaves space for something for those people. Because I go play Squad, and it is 20 minutes of hiking across a field, and then I die, and then I hike across a field again, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
And I would love something. I would go play something like Insurgency. There we go. That's the game in the middle. Go play Insurgency if you want to play these things.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm not even gonna add that. You said it better than I could have said it, right? Go play Insurgency, hardcore players. Like, what the fuck?
Jump in occasionally. It's fun.
But okay. Oh, you said it's not a cardinal sin leaving hardcore in the game. Have you seen Portal?
Portal is a shit show for reasons other than hardcore being there.
But have you seen
Portal
what they've done with hardcore? When you give these people options.
Well, I mean, you go back and look at hardcore servers in past Battlefields where they did have those options from self-hosting. You didn't see it as much in BF5 and BF1 because you really kind of couldn't, but you go back to BF3 and BF4, you have pretty crazy hardcore servers as well.
It's not 1,000% Afghanistan war sim, friendly fire, fast vehicle, 4,000 ticket, El Alamein 24/7 though. That's
you back when you could actually get those servers populated, they existed. Now, because there's not enough of a player base, you don't see them anymore. But they were there.
Remove hardcore. That's my stance. Fucking remove it.
I won't fight you on it, but okay.
I'm tired of seeing it.
I don't think it's necessary, but you know, if it's gone, okay, it's fine.
The comment section of this video is going to be an absolute shit show when people get to this section in particular. After I edit the downtime out, it's going to be hilarious. So I think past then, I mean, unless you want to cover any more topics, that we've covered quite a lot. We've covered unintended mechanics. We covered a little bit of BF6. We covered hardcore. You got one more thing you want to throw in here?
I don't think we've touched class balance. You want to talk about that?
We could talk about it slightly. In terms of what? Like, in terms of class lock and weapons, or what gadgets they should have, or...
I mean, I think that I think it stems back to people not knowing what they're asking for. People say they want BF3 or BF4, and they don't realize that those were fairly open. There was ultimately I won't say ultimately, but I think if you go back and look at a video Matimio made 10 years ago talking about Bad Company 2.
Okay.
At that time, there was a quote from a DICE dev saying that they didn't understand why Bad Company 2 was so beloved.
Yeah.
And Matimio was saying it's because classes had actual roles. And that wasn't in context to 2042 or anything. That was in context to BF3 and BF4. And so I think people who are looking at BF3 and BF4 with these rose-tinted glasses don't quite understand what they're asking for. Now, if someone says they want BF1 class balance, that's different. Yes, they know what they're asking for.
You're 100% right. I've again made very recent multiple videos on this subject because of the BF6 class announcement where they detailed their direction, and they're going to release another one of those direction posts very soon. But I made videos on this, and the comment section, some people understood my point, which is BF4 system isn't what you want. It's not what you're asking for. You want something stricter. Other people were just, you know, the nonsensical sort of hostile thing. We're like, oh, you don't understand Battlefield vendors. Like, fuck you. I do think Battlefield players just pick and choose really strange things. They want to feel like classes have something specific and then that's exclusive to them.
The moment
but at the same time,
handle on their own, they instantly want to lone wolf everything.
But at the same time, they want all these open weapon options for classes. And it's like, okay, do you want weapons to play a defining role in classes? Or do you want to like half-ass it? Be like, oh yeah, we'll give assault rifles, but I want to use my carbine and shotgun and DMR as well. It's like the Battlefield community really picks and chooses weird things when it comes to this. But like you said, they don't really know what they're asking for. What they're asking for, in my opinion, is they want strict weapon locked classes, right? where the gadgets and the weapons define the classes definitively. There's no question. There probably aren't any universal class options, class weapon type options, and but then they go and ask for BF4, which doesn't give them that.
So I think that a lot of it also ties into map design, because all of these class distinctions really boil down to what sort of engagement range do you have. And if the map design is favoring extremes, then you are going to want a wide variety of weapons so that you can be a jack of all trades. However, if you build a good map like BC2 and BF3, where you have a mixture of cover and you can actually move across the map without getting shot by a sniper from 500 meters away, if you know what you're doing, then you can get away with running an SMG or a PDW or any of the smaller, shorter range, a shotgun, any of the shorter range stuff. You can get away with that because you can move across the map.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you have something like Goldman Railway, where you've got a series of points that have a bunch of built-up cover around them and then fields surrounding it, you can't move across the map without having a variety of options available to you. And so I think that class locking weapons actually is ultimately a map design decision. If they want to have unlocked weapons, I'm not going to complain if they do it right. If you build a good map where you can make your way across it without having without exposing yourself unduly with a short range weapon, then I think that you can make it work. However, on the flip side, I don't think the classes are very distinct, and I think that allowing everyone to have an assault rifle is going to lead to everyone running an assault rifle. So there's two elements there.
So do you think... I'll tell you what I think. You said class locking weapons is ultimately a map design decision. Do you think... This is what I think. I think you make sure you class lock weapons in a way that makes sense, and then it's a separate thing where you make sure the map design is actually good, right?
Sure, that
because
works.
I think it depends whether or not the maps are good. I don't necessarily think it matters whether or not, you know, like Gulmud Railway, you mentioned the fields and the buildings and all that. I don't know. I just feel like in a lot of these, like in BF1, for instance, I think in a lot of those really good maps that I like Argonne Forest, Achibaba, Priest, Novell Knights, Amiens, I feel like I can run anything because the maps are good. Whereas Galicia, as you mentioned previously, you kind of have to play certain types of things because the map is not good, right? So
yeah,
I don't know. I view it as kind of a separate thing. Like make sure the classes make sense, but also make sure the game can be played because the map design isn't shit.
Sure. I think maybe a better way to put it is that engagement distance is tied to class locked weapons. If you lock weapons, you're forcing people into choosing an engagement distance, and then engagement distance is directly tied to map design.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. In my mind, I've always just viewed it as like sort of separate things.
Well,
like it's like do this correct first, and then.
Well, you're building a game. You have to build a cohesive whole. So I guess all of these things are going to interact.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a way to build a game where unlocked weapons do work, and it's heavily reliant on map design working as a result. And if you look at 2042, where map design was shit, unlocked weapons don't work. And I think if you took unlocked weapons back to Battlefield 3, it wouldn't be the end of the world.
Would it be the end of the world? I don't know. I don't know how to think about that, actually. People would obviously freak out if you unlocked weapons in BF3 just because, oh my god. But
no, for other reasons, I'm not a huge fan. I don't want every death to be to an assault rifle.
I do think that would be the case.
Yeah, that could well be a problem. That's a separate issue, but I do think that there are ways to make it work, and I don't think they're going to do them, and so they shouldn't. And, you know, as you said in the past, they should do what the community wants because they're trying to build a game that people will come play.
Just avoid the drama, please.
Yes.
Just even if they want something irrational with the class system, just fucking do it. I really don't care. I'm going to deal with whatever they do. I've played... It doesn't matter. The class system, that's why I made that video, everyone's wrong about BF6's classes. Basically, my point is, at a certain skill level, I mean, and this is going to be, I don't know, this might be like a red pill. A certain skill level, the class system becomes a complete and utter background thought. It just simply doesn't matter. Like, okay, fine. I have to play this class here and this class there. But I realize that's like a stupid, it's not a majority opinion. Just give the people what they want, and we'll deal with it.
I also think that locking classes helps enforce roles. And I think people come to Battlefield because they don't want Call of Duty. They want something where they like the idea of people playing something of a role. They like something of a little interaction where I'm shooting RPGs at a tank and someone throws ammo at my feet. I'm in a tank and someone comes up and repairs me and I don't know them. I like the interactions where a little blueberry helps me do what I'm doing. And those interactions do separate it from COD. You do feel like there's a bit more of a team cohesion, even if ultimately there's not. Let's be honest. In Conquest, no, there really isn't. Maybe if you're in a voice comma squad. But those moments do make it feel different. And I think they're important. And encouraging class diversity helps encourage those.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even build off of what you said. I think you're right, especially on there isn't much deliberate teamwork in terms of a big conquest mode. Some people make it seem like there's some sort of predetermined plan that you spent all last night writing up, and then this is some sort of like organized thing that's going on where, oh, we're gonna attack B flag. It's like, what? No, this does not happen.
But it's the little moments where a random blueberry helps you that makes it feel different from COD. And people came here for that.
They like their resupplying, they like their healing, they like their reviving, and their repairing. And that's what makes Battlefield the game it is. All right, so I think we're good. I think this is good. If you want to say some last thing, feel free. Then we'll
remove prone. All right. Remaster Bad Company 2.
Okay.
There we go. I'll live with that.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on. I hope you had fun. And this will probably go up on, depending on if DICE releases about 50 other leaks or like they officially announce something. Chat, this episode will probably go up on Wednesday, tentatively. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you for coming on. And if you enjoy the channel, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and let me know who my next guest is. I've already have a list. Trust me, I read the comment section, guys, okay? So you'll see some people that you've been asking for up maybe even next week. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And boom, I added it to end right there, so they don't know that I said this.
Do you have more angry Redditors? Like, not more...
I'm trying to get him. This one guy was super mad. And I asked him, I go, would you like to come on and discuss this? And he said, nah, I said my piece right here. And he got downvoted into oblivion. He said I had no integrity and that I have no idea what I'm talking about. And that I only... my opinions are only my opinions because I have a channel that makes me money. I was like, would you want to talk? Let's talk about it. He's like, no. Fuck you. He got downvoted, so fuck that guy. It's hard, though, getting him to come on. Getting the Redditors to come on is very difficult. They're very against actual discussion, which is in their nature.
I mean, I came on because I nitpick on a few things with you, but I do kind of agree. And I think there were some things that that other people aren't saying that needed to be said.
Mm-hmm. Now, from this experience, would you say your the things we have nitpicked over, they're like resolved? We understand each other? to a certain extent.
Yeah, I would say so. I'm not sure we agree on everything, but most of it, yeah.
Give me your craziest Battlefield take right now. This like the most insane, like, I don't know, unpopular, if you can even think of it.
We should still be playing Hardline.
It's not, Chad. Is that base? That's base, right? That's fine. Yeah, yeah. Hardline overhated. That's not even controversial.
No. Hardline introduced the mechanic where you can take ammo and health off of people who are ignoring
Oh my god. Add it back.
Why are we ignoring this game?
Add it back, dude. I watched Hardline gameplay recently. Dude, I'm so mad I didn't get to play that. It looked really good.
Yeah. No, it was BF4, but with some fun sprinkled on. It didn't take itself too seriously, and I love that.
And I remember, I fucking remember Battlefield community. I'm like, yeah, okay. I remember before I even started streaming, playing BF4, right? I was an attack jet whore, right? I was like, yeah, I was going 75-0 in the attack jet. Yes, I was. Yes, okay. I was that person in the server. Okay, but I remember the commentary, real time when Hardline came out. I remember the Battlefield community going, "Fuck this, cops and robbers." It's like, how anti-fun is this community sometimes? Truly, how anti-fun are you guys?
I'll be honest, the reason why I didn't pick it up is because I went back to BC2.
Well, at least BC2 is a good game.
Yeah. 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 Hardline was misunderstood. If you slapped some military skins on it and retained everything else, people would have loved it.
Yep. I think if the Hardline to some people also had like it wasn't as quote unquote gritty as the Battlefield community would have liked. You know what I mean?
I wonder how much of that triggered what they did with BF1, which was the grittiest possible.
Yes, I wouldn't be surprised.
And I think it worked out. I mean, the best part about BF1 was the atmosphere. So, you know what? Okay. I do think that the atmosphere sacrificed other elements of the game.
Oh, yes, it did. BF1, I uninstalled BF1. Hey, chat. The last time I played that game, literally rage quit, uninstall. I can't handle that game anymore. It's not for me, dude. I can't play the game. There's no mechanics in the game. I get sweet spotted. I die to gas. I'm over it. It's over.
Oh god, fucking gas. I was that asshole with the Martini Henry before they patched it. I'll admit that.
Oh, you fucking bitch.
So I was also a shotgun slugs main in BC2, so I'm at least consistent. But the gas, oh fuck. That was the worst part of the game.
It's like, okay, I understand. I get it. We know gas was used in World War I. We get it. However,
it's not
just because something is like historically accurate and it was really used, it doesn't mean we should put it in the game. Now they could have put gas
mechanic in single player.
Dude, okay. The way they should have implemented gas is, you remember when trenches were gassed and there was still that sort of like gassy fog, right? Maybe in certain areas of the map, you have gas that damages you like the fire on the BF1 ground, right? It does like 2 damage, 3 damage. It's more of an annoyance. It's more of an immersive, quote unquote, feature than an actual usable gas grenade that hits you through walls. And I think part of why they put gas in BF1 is to sort of, I guess they wanted gas masks, and they thought, okay, well, you know, historically they equipped gas masks to combat the gas. We'll try to have this be a gameplay element.
I think if they had static gas that covered a low-lying objective element, and that everyone who entered the objective had to put on a gas mask in order to survive, it maybe would have worked better than being able to chuck it into every trench ahead of you.
I just can't believe... Yeah, we're on the same page when it comes to gas. Fuck gas grenades. Ridiculous.
Well, every Battlefield has a grenade spam problem. So, this only made it worse.
BF1 was egregious. Yeah, for sure. Battlefield 5, I don't really... Do you guys think BF5 had a grenade spam problem? I don't really think it was too bad. 2042, maybe in Redacted, Smoke Spam is
3
pretty
and 4
crazy.
definitely did.
Yeah, 3
and 4 definitely did. Bad Company 2 did, especially before they patched the ammo crate to slow down the regen rate, because assaults would drop their ammo crate at their feet and then just chuck nades. Especially on Rush, where you could learn grenade spots to land them right at the MCOM.
Yeah, yes. Map design plays a huge role in this, says Lex. Yeah, it does.
Yep.
It absolutely
My biggest problem with BF4 was the grenade launcher, where you could program it to explode right behind cover.
Airburst. Airburst. And then in oh my god. Then in 2042, they gave Zane at launch unlimited ammo that automatically regens airburst as his class gadget, and he had 2 magazines. So he had 10 shots of airburst that regen. I made my biggest mistake in 2042, really. I didn't play Zane enough at launch. I would literally have a 12 KD on Zane. Not joking. That class was so fucked.
I mean, there's a lot of classes in 2042 that you could say were fucked. McKay still is. Liz, before they removed her second launcher, was fucked.
Liz is still fucked. Liz as a design is fundamentally broken. Should never be in the game. Leave the TV missiles to the vehicles. Hey, as a streamer, listen. This bullshit it needs to be removed.
Okay. Well, if I go back to BF3 and BF4 and BC2, I'm using the wire-guided one. I'm not using the TV missile, so that's a little different.
And it's totally different because at least it took some semblance of skill. The TV missile is too effective to be used as a auto regen infantry weapon, and it's the reason why it's part of the reason why BF 2042 tanks have to stay back. People complain, oh, my tank's camping in the back of the map. The tank can't push up. There's so much just brutally oppressive AT in 2042 that people sort of gloss over. The tanks have to stay there.
I think part of the problem is that it's kind of designed to be AA, because you have these helicopters with way more health than they need, and you give infantry a bunch of tools to deal with that, and now your tanks are fucked.
Do you think small arms fire should damage helicopters?
That was in a previous game, right?
It was in Hardline. No, chat?
It was
Hardline.
It was in BF1. BF1 had that.
Yeah, BF1. Yeah, BF1 you could damage planes with.
I mean, an LMG was
I swear you could. Yeah, in Hardline. Started with Hardline. Okay, yeah.
I think that it depends on what you're shooting at. In BF1, it made a hell of a lot of sense because they were made out of wood and canvas, but you also didn't have a whole lot of AA, so it was a valid addition to the sandbox. I prefer a system where you have to actually hit the person in the vehicle with small arms, where you can snipe people out of a helicopter or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, damaging the vehicle doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. And it doesn't really matter because you do so little chip damage. They fly off anyway.
But if they're going with the vehicle self-repair system, I think the argument is you can make light machine guns, which, I guess people want to. Yeah.
Okay.
Stop the repair.
This might actually be my hottest Battlefield take. Depends on who I'm talking to.
Okay.
Self-repair should be removed. We need to go back to you got to get out and repair with your repair tool.
That's fine. That's fine. It's fine. You're basically saying we should go back to the way things work.
Yes.
It's fine.
God, I hate self-repair. BF1, before you unlocked the AT rocket, was a fucking nightmare because those little fucking tanks would just run around self-repair and go like 100 and 0.
The light tank.
Yes.
The BF1 light tank.
Or you would have the artillery truck sit in the back. God, I think... Okay, which Battlefield do you think had the worst infantry vehicle balance? Because I think it was BF1.
A lot of people would immediately say BF4. This is actually a good question. It might be
because it's not just the tanks that are fucked in BF1. You also have the Ilya Murmamets, which can wipe an entire team on one point.
It might be Battlefield 2042. But it also might be BF1.
2042 would be fucked in the sense that infantry can suppress vehicles so egregiously. If they're
the more I think about it, you're right. BF1, yeah, BF1. Because 2042, I have my reservations about that game. I think 2042's vehicles are too easy. But BF1, I think infantry to vehicle, I think it's probably the worst. Now, the more I think about it.
2042 is weird in that it seems like it flip-flops. If you have a team that's trying to shut down vehicles, they absolutely can. And if you have a team that's not, the vehicles will just run the server.
Yes, whereas in BF4, I feel like people would say, oh my god, the attack heli is so fucking overpowered. But the people in the attack heli that are going on these crazy kill streaks, they're actually really good. They're really fucking good. And I feel like in BF4, it takes an equally focused effort to destroy them, right? Like, you need a skill shot. You need to hit a TV missile. You need to hit a SRAW. You need to catch them out. You need to counter them with your own attack heli team.
I'm going to tell you why people hate vehicle balance in BF4. And it has nothing to do with the actual balance between infantry and vehicles. It's because a bunch of server owners set it so that they instantly respawn.
Yeah. That plays a huge role. People with the 24/7 fast vehicles, right? It does alter the gameplay.
You should shut it down for like a minute and a half.
Yes.
And that gives you some breathing room. If it instantly respawns and the same squad gets in it immediately, well, you're fucked. They're back up.
And this is where RSP comes into play. This might be my I haven't even made a video on this. I don't even know, dude. RSP is kind of bad. RSP kind of sucks a lot of the time. I don't think it's viable in the modern Battlefield era. I don't think so. I think, in my experience, playing Battlefield, and this is maybe a niche experience because I guess, yes, I'm 1% of the player base. I don't like people dictating what server I play in. I don't like the fast vehicle shit. I don't like the fact that a lot of these things are like unsafe. Like I don't want to play BF4. The last time I played BF4, they DDoSed the server I was on, or like one of the times I played BF4, they DDoSed the server I'm on. The admin at any point can leak my IP. I just don't think this shit works for like modern game design.
So I think there's two things here. You have shitty server setups, and you have streamer unfriendly servers. A streamer unfriendly setup where you can't hide your account or anything. I mean, there's not much you can do behind someone stream sniping you while you're live, but being able to scramble your name or something and being able to play offline, I think, is necessary now that live streaming is what it is.
Well, but before we get any further, let me clarify. I think they should integrate the custom server thing into the game. So some build off of the BF5 system, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Executed at a way higher level that is way higher quality. But the whole thing where, you know, BF3 and 4 started out where you had to sort of rent servers and was sort of a server browser based system. I think we hopefully can all agree we can move past that, and gaming itself it's moved on past that sort of browser system.
I've never heard from you.
What?
This is an awful take.
We've moved past the browser system. It's over.
The absolute best experience I've ever had in Battlefield is on a community server where I found one that's set up properly, and I go there and I know 2/3 of the people in chat, half the servers in voice. We're hanging out, we're having a good time, and I go see those people every weeknight or every Friday. And that experience is not something you can have if you get rid of the server browser and consistent servers. If you have ephemeral servers like Portal, it's
okay. We're misunderstanding. I'm not saying get rid of the server browser. I'm saying like battle log. That's what I'm saying. Browser based battle log Battlefield, where you have to launch the game via Google.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying.
That was awful to start with. No, yeah, server browser.
We're past that. We can integrate the server browser system inside of the Battlefield client.
Didn't they add BF4 to the BF1 and BF5 internal menu?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we're past this. No, I agree. A web browser based Battlefield was always a mistake. I'll agree with that.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. We're past the web browser based shit. Like, we don't have to do that anymore. You can integrate.
Okay.
You can integrate all this RSP stuff into the game itself in like a streamlined fashion. I just don't like I think Portal is a great example. Portal, you have too many. There are almost too many customization options to where no one makes anything that makes any sense. And I think
the problem with Portal, I think the core problem with Portal is that you can't keep a server up. I think that if you could keep a server up and start to build a community around it, people would build servers that people actually want to play on. Because when they disappear after you log off, the only thing that they're any good for is farming XP.
Well, I think you have to get it right from the start, right? So you can't. They added persistent servers, which are in Portal right now. Actually.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're in Portal right now. The problem is Portal was so fucked from the start because, in my opinion, there's no structure to what you can make. And I think the current state of Portal absolutely proves that. The XP farms, the bot servers, the 1000% damage hardcore servers, the zombies, like 4 players versus 60 AI servers. All of that shit, I'm dead serious. You should never be able to make it, ever. I think they need to heavily streamline what you can make in Portal. Not to the point where you can't be creative, but to the point where inevitably people are going to make the servers people expect to see. The servers people played on before, like 24/7 Conquest best maps, Rush best maps, 24/7 No Shore Canal TDM, Grand Ops 24/7, all this sort of stuff people want to see. You have to actually kind of force the Battlefield community to make it, or else the Battlefield community will not make it. They won't. They will go and do all this crazy shit, make the server browser completely unplayable, and that's it. Like, that's your server browser experience. So
I think there's 2 ways to make this happen. And even to compromise on this. I also enjoy Halo, and I love a good custom game.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that in order to make this work, to start with, you need to have consistent servers from the beginning. And you need to have a server browser which includes official servers and custom servers that fit within a set of guidelines. And so that way they're easily discoverable by most people. Because right now, you have to go into the Portal server browser, which the vast majority of people aren't doing. And so the only people going in there are people looking for the weird shit, because they know there's nothing else there for them. And so if you give, like, if you follow a framework that DICE sets out, where you don't change the rules too much, where you keep it within acceptable bounds that are pretty strict. I'm talking like where you're maybe tweaking tickets, you're maybe tweaking vehicle timers, not even all the way down, but just a little bit. Where you keep it within these acceptable bounds, you actually get XP, and on the other servers you don't. And then it shows up in the official server browser. And I think people would be encouraged to make their own version with their own map rotation and get it into that system, and you would end up with things people actually want to play.
Yes. I don't think we should necessarily be accommodating the people that, or maybe enabling the people that want to create the super crazy weird shit.
Okay.
I don't think you should even be able to tweak damage up to 1,000%.
I suppose this is the same as you wanting hardcore gun. I mean, ultimately, I think it works in Halo because Halo is such a physics sandbox to start with. Battlefield's not that. Battlefield is Battlefield, and so I can understand that take.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think ultimately there's going to be people who want something a little weird, even if it's not weird AI zombies. They may want to have a vehicle practice range against bots, and that shouldn't have XP,
I
and
think
that
that should
shouldn't
be
be in the server
provided by the
browser either.
developers.
You think that should be in the test
Any
range?
sort of practice range shit should be developer made 100%. I don't think there's any excuse. I think at this point, if you look at Battlefield 4, BF4 has that, right? And I think Battlefield has been behind for so long in terms of providing their player base with those sorts of tools, those practice tools where you can go in and test weapons in a test range, where you can learn the vehicle mechanics in a test range. That needs to be developer provided as like an official thing. They tried it in BF5, right, and in BF4. They need to do it once again in BF6, but to an even higher standard. I think there needs to be maybe sort of dedicated vehicle scenarios where there are perhaps tutorials, how to fly a helicopter, right? How to operate a tank. And it's maybe like a 2-minute thing where it shows you the controls and it walks you through a couple things, and then there you go. But we don't need servers for that. That should be developer provided.
Sure. I don't think DICE is going to do it. I think that there's some core things at the test range that need to change. I'll admit it's been a long time since I got in one, but not being able to test weapons you haven't unlocked is a problem. I want to know what I'm working towards. Let me test that. Same with attachments.
So even if the weapon's unlocked, you want to be able to test it.
Yeah, like if
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, really.
If I haven't unlocked the F2000 yet, I want to know what it shoots like and if I should go down the path to unlock it. That was my biggest problem with BF4s, I believe. Although it's been 8 years since I was in it, so I can't tell you if that was actually the case.
What do you think about that, chat?
My biggest problem.
What do you think about that, chat? Being able to use a weapon that you haven't necessarily unlocked yet to see how you like it? Hard disagree. Who cares? Okay. Nah. I don't see any downsides to that. We're all over they're all over the place. Chat doesn't know.
My point is it's a test range. Let me test it before I go try and unlock it.
People are all over about this. I'm reading with no attachments only. Ruins the element of surprise. Test range would be cool. Have good things and bad things. What? Why not?
Oh, I don't want to test it in a multiplayer game. I'm saying you should be able to go into a test range and use it against maybe a couple bots or just the cardboard cutouts.
Mm-hmm.
Not a multiplayer game. I'm not saying test it in a multiplayer game. I'm saying I want to see how it shoots and what the recoil pattern's like.
A lot of people are saying it spoils the surprise. I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. If you can use the naked version of the weapon in a test range, I don't think that is a problem.
And I would say once you unlock the weapon, you'd be able to once you unlock the weapon, you should be able to test locked attachments for the same reason.
Okay.
So you know what you're working towards.
I don't have any problem with it as long as it's in a test environment. I think it's fine.
Yeah, only test range. I don't want this in multiplayer. I'm on that.
How is it in COD? I actually don't know how Call of Duty does that.
I don't think oh man, I don't know.
Test it when you've earned it. You gotta unlock all weapons anyway.
I'm not. I go back to BF4. I have probably 10,000 hours in Bad Company 2. I have weapons. No, wait. Bad Company 2 unlocks weapons regardless of what class you play. No, I've got all those. Battlefield 4. There are weapons I've not unlocked for Recon.
The SR338 or something, probably.
I don't know. I legitimately don't know. I don't use bolt actions. I'm dog shit with them. So I could not tell you what. I just know I don't have all of them.
Right. Very interesting thing. I'm probably going to add on, I'm going to add on some more stuff from this conversation on. I'm going to have to do a bunch of editing to this, but it'll come out cohesive, chat, okay? All right. I think unfortunately I'm gonna have to play 2042 now. So, thank you again for coming on.
Sure.
This was fun. This was good. The chat likes you. I think they'd be good. I think they do like you. I think the most controversial take might have been from me with the RSP thing, where I said it is kind of a niche Battlefield complaint. It is very niche Battlefield complaint because I just gotten banned from so many servers. I'm tired of it, dude.
It sounds like if you had a streamer mode, it would solve half your problems.
Maybe. Hopefully. Didn't they say that was in BF6? Wasn't that leaked?
I think so.
That was leaked. Yeah. So hopefully they listen. Battlefield is so behind modern times. It's actually so funny. BF1 should have had a streamer mode. They're so behind. But anyway.
The funny thing is that in some ways it needs to be behind because what people want is from 2012, 2013.
Yeah. They can adapt it though to modern.
Needs to catch up.
They can adapt it though to modern expectations. All right. I'm gonna go play the game now. Thank you, sir, for coming on. This was fun.
Sure.
And I'm gonna cut it off here. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm gonna go play a bad game.
Bye, chat.
Well, that was interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a bunch of editing to that for sure. Gonna have to figure out what to title it. That'll probably come out somewhere on Wednesday, chat. He was cool. Yeah. Good. I'll try to get a more decisively against me Redditor on next time. It's hard. Guys, it's hard. I'm gonna be honest. Getting these people onto the podcast, having them willing to be on camera in front of potentially, hundreds of people. It's a non-guaranteed thing. So I'm going to try. And I hope this isn't the only person from Reddit that I end up having on. All right. I think I actually have to play the game now, which is really brutal. Fix this. Need someone toxic? But it's so hard. Because I've tried with many people. Nick is probably 1 out of 10 people I've asked. And the toxic ones are kind of pussies. So far. They don't want to come on. There are some content creators that probably heavily disagree with me. I would imagine Squid G would heavily disagree with me. I would imagine... Sergeant Danger Cow. I don't even like... I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if I even like that guy. He's kind of a fucking weirdo. I could maybe try to get Sergeant Danger Cow on. He's had me blocked for I don't even know, 6 years.
Ready for orders.
And I don't even know if I've ever directly spoken to him. I don't know, whatever. I could try for these things, but, the keyword is try. I don't think there's a guarantee of any of these happening. In terms of future episodes to look forward to, trying to get Cadwoman, trying to get Flak Fire, Gravity, trying to get Gravity on, and then We'll leave some other things up to imagination, you know? You guys type in Jack Frags and level cap. They're not they're never coming on, guys. I gotta break it to you guys. They're not coming on the show, dude. Ravik would never do this. I don't know. I don't think Ravik would do it. Oh, not now. Oh, speaking of exploit, we should have talked about this. Now it's time for me to exploit the game. Here we go. Railgun, top of the boat, shoot into your spawn with an overpowered weapon that is basically an exploit. Let's go. Based. Here we go. I ignore the correct way to play the game, and I simply go to the top of this boat and spawn kill them. But the funny thing is, this is actually probably the best strat you can do in this area.
Got eyes on hostile. 250 meters. Tango on my mark.
Unlikely from that kid. I'm gonna be completely honest. Unlikely he hits that. What the fuck? The DXR is hit scan. It's just hit scan, huh? That thing is just... God, bro. Oh my god, this game's movement, please.
Away we go.
DXR is pretty much hit scan. Yeah.
Enemy soldier marked. 250 meters away. Buckets coming in packs. Enemy fire team sighted.
Just gonna res that guy.
Multiple enemies. 250 meters. Tango on my mark. Marking the hostile. Tango spotted. 250 meters. Hostile located.
The problem is this only works if...
Enemy soldier there. Southwest.
How did I miss? This is the worst feeling game I've ever played, by the way.
Lone tango. 200 meters away. Marking the hostile. 200 meters. Hostile on the map.
So fucking cringe. And that's why Liz is a bullshit character that should be completely removed from the game. Because why are you giving infantry players TV missiles? What are we doing? It's just retarded. God, this game feels so bad. Okay.
Marking threat! Tango down! Copy trouble here! Eyes open here! Grenade! Tango down! Cover me!
Is there a podcast every Sundays or is it random? No, so I stream the live like recording for what I'm gonna use on YouTube, right? And those will be random, like unscheduled pretty much. But I think I'm gonna try to do a podcast episode every week or 2 weeks maybe. Just sort of depends on who I can get on and how often it can happen.
Firing at Sabrent! Frag grenade! That's one down!
Oh! Thank you guys for all the resubs, by the way. Appreciate all you guys. Please stop.
Multiple tangos marked, 60 meters away from me. Tossing grenade!
Man, people are preeming weird ass shit today, bro.
Threat marked! Grenade!
Yo, oh damn it, Jim. Thank you so much for the 5 gifted, bro. Thank you very much.
I'm thinking at the break.
Yo, did you guys like the top plays episode today? By the way, I really try to go like all out on that, honestly. Twitch cheat AF reported. Twitch cheat AF reported. I need to get around here, man. I need to flank outside, like this guy's trying to flank us. I need to frickin'... Excuse me, what are you doing? That guy dropped from the top of the boat. Alright, shitter eliminated with the sniper. Please die, please die, please, 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 thank you. I hate this game, I hate it so much. No. The problem is we just need to get around here, but it's almost impossible, so... I need to run double smoke. I don't know why I'm running incendiary. Just run. Basically, just what I need to do. Getting shot in my back, getting shot in my back. Guys. Ooh, I headshot somebody there. Was that guy? Hello? Wait a minute. There's like nobody here. Why was this so... I don't know, I guess I'm just confused. Like, why was this such a contested area? And this guy's right here. You can probably get me. I think he's scared, though. I mean, there's a dozer that's about to kill him from behind, so... Oh my god. Oh my fucking god. Oh no, dude.
This battle is ours. Reloading! Threat eliminated!
Fuck you. Zane is overpowered. Deal with it. Zane's overpowered. Deal with it. Zane's overpowered. Deal with it. Ah! Zane's overpowered. Deal with it.
Hostile neutralized! Need to reload! Firing activity! White shelter! I'm out! Reloading!
Get a life. People are so mad. What the fuck? Reported, yeah. BRB chat.
Count me in. Let's go.
Exodus.
Oh shit. You just give another 5 subs? Yeah, you did. Thank you so much for the 10 gifted now. Thank you, dude. I might just keep playing Zane. Wait a minute, hold on. I have to use the... Maybe I don't. Oh, God. Is the AKS better? It's probably not better, is it? Oh no. This, not good.
Throwing grenade! Grenade fire! I'm out! Reloading! That's one down! Cover me!
Put the magazine in the weapon! Yeah, this gun is really bad. Chat, the AKS is, not a good gun.
Threat eliminated!
Chemical Reactor 3.
Grenade going out! Hostile neutral!
Why do I have a suppressor on this weapon? Oh, they took away Archon, that's why. I'm so mad. They need to give me back Archon. Incredible. Love this game. Yeah, we're fucked on defense on this map.
One down!
Please stop. Yeah, we're totally screwed on this map. Holy shit. Well, I tried to throw the grenade back, but I wasn't close enough to it.
Hostile chopper. Distance 110 meters. Threat mark!
Off.
Cancel last message! Danger located! Need to reload!
Alright! That's none of the things I'm interested in. Shitty kaleidoscope defense.
Count me in. Let's go.
Big fat yikes for me, dog. This has a heavy suppressor? I didn't know that, actually. Thank you, oh damn it, Jim. Thank you, dude. For another gift. Enders vs. Reddit is the real World War III. The never-ending war. Alright, Haven on the wrong side of a spawn trap. Dope, dope, dope. You think you're gifting another sub, Jim? I really appreciate all that.
Grenade going out! Hostile neutralized! Back on your feet! Accelerate updated.
Fuck.
Enemy down. Need to reload. Reload. Reloading. I'm moving. That's one down. Exit distance mark. Hold on, reloading.
Who? Thank you for the 4 more gifted subs, I think, in total. Oh, damn it, Jim. What a fucking legend this guy is.
Threat eliminated. I'm out, reloading.
Hello.
Threat located. Northwest. Hostile neutralized.
Guys. Haven is a horrible map! Ugh. Every time I play it, I just want to yell it. I just want to scream about it, how fucking bad it is. This is what happens on Haven, dude. It's just a bunch of poorly designed building areas.
Get down. Tango eliminated. Locking activate. One down. Out of ammo, got to reload! Need to reload! Exit distance locked! Just like that!
Go down. Oh my god, this game. No Delta Force tourney? Fuck no. That tournament is dog shit. That tournament is absolutely... oh my god. Did I even tell you why we didn't sign up for the Delta Force tournament? I don't think I told you guys. That tourney is a straight up joke. It's not, it wouldn't be the, it would not be worth the money or the effort. It really wouldn't.
Exit distance marked.
The headache is crazy.
In the back! Grenade!
This map is seriously one of the worst maps I've ever played. In any Battlefield game, it really is bad. It's so... hastily put together.
Target eliminated!
You play R6? No.
Enemy down!
This might be one of the hardest spawn traps I've seen on this map that I've like actually played. Like this team cannot push out of this no matter what. Like they are just simply not breaking this spawn trap because the map design is so
Danger mark, 40 meters away from me.
just like so oppressive.
Exit range locked.
Fucking pussies that just sit up there. It's so disgusting.
Danger located. Grenade!
Of course. Level 4, Pepper Pipper. Of course. I should have known the level 4 Pepper Pipper was pre-aiming me from a preposterous position. Like... so fucking stupid.
هنعمل ايه؟
Consolium DM7 insta-death off the head glitch into defeat. Oh, good. Haven again. Watch this. Woo! Get off my screen. Optimistic and Power Shadow. Thank you guys for the follows. Damn, that's a huge forehead. That's the whole point of the stream, you know, Tim. Any reason you play 2042 over BF1 and BF5? Yeah, BF1 isn't a game you can play. It's just like for people that don't have hands. And BF5 is dead in North America.
Count me in.
It's pretty much just not a... Yeah. It's just not a great experience. Enders ever smile? Not when playing this? No? Not really. Popping off in EU? Yeah, that's why EU is... dude, EU is so fucking... EU Battlefield players are so spoiled. They can play whatever they want. It's so bullshit. Ugh. EU difficult. Nice! The 10 ticket spawn trapped.
هنعمل ايه؟
Isn't that right, Zane? First sector attack loss. Shut the game down. The BF5 lobbies are getting ridiculous. No, they're not. That was a joke. Which Battlefield would you play if you had the choice? None of them. I would, if I could switch content to any game, I'd probably just play like Minecraft or fucking Borderlands or something. Probably just wouldn't play FPS games at all in the current era. I'm ready for Borderlands 4. Yeah. Chat, do you guys know why we're not playing the Delta Force tourney? There was a rule in there where for the first stage of qualifying, you needed 50 tournament points to qualify. And the way you got these tournament points is you would just play like Warfare public matches and you would win. But the wins would count for different amounts based off of your in-game rank. So Marshall players would get 2 points per win, but let's say you're not Marshall, you would get 1.5, and then I think there was another bracket where you get 1 point for winning. Like, fuck this. This is so stupid. I'm not playing. No, we're actually just we're not even gonna play. How about that?
Marking track, 200 meters away. Enemy tech spotted. Marking deep.
Of course. It's just Battlefield players. Ooh, I just hate them. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them.
Threat mark, 70 meters from me.
Okay, it's just a straight up stream snipe.
Target spotted!
Marking enemy soldier. 50 meters from my position. Enemy tank.
Action front! Ground fire!
Dude. Absolutely unplayable cancer. Absolutely unplayable cancer. Straight up one of the worst games ever made. Every single person should be held responsible for that. It's just, it's so bad. I don't even, There aren't any words. It's just one of the absolute least enjoyable experiences I've ever fucking witnessed in my entire life. Every single thing you do feels like shit. Every movement input feels like shit. Mouse is fucking broken. Map design is dog shit. Everything's annoying to play against. Everything's annoying to die to. No weapons have any fucking actual identity to them. It's just seriously a fucking tragedy how brutally annoying this game is to play. It's just insane. And yet somehow Call of Duty is actually worse. Somehow Call of Duty is definitively a worse experience. How they managed to do that is fucking unbelievable. Really is. Congratulations, COD. You guys are paving the way for... Oh, God. All right, I'm done. I'm done. I'll see you guys later. I really do appreciate you guys hanging out. I'm not playing this fucking game anymore, right? So, thank you guys for hanging out. The podcast was fun. That episode will be up later in the week. Fucking hell. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go watch the Counter-Strike Major final. Goodbye. Thank you for all the gifted subs. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the follows. I fuck with all of you. Heavily.